Hello, everybody, and welcome to this AFC South show number 161 here on Curtis Podcast Network. I'm the host of the channel. My name is Curtis Brown. You can also find me over on That Real Texas Team podcast, where we talk everything Texans. With me, as always, my resident co-host, Isaiah Michelli, a.k.a. Duval's Finest, a.k.a. the Glitter Kitty Conquistador. Find him everywhere on social media at Duval's Finest. What's up, Isaiah?
Well, just being the finest.
It's a pretty good role to have. Check out Isaiah and his compatriots over there on Third and Teal, talking all things Jacksonville. Down here at your bottom right, we got Jeff Steckel, a.k.a. Walk Softly and Carry a Big Steck. Our Unstabled host with Justin. So go over there and check out Unstable, like, subscribe. Watch some damn Colts content, people. What the hell? Please.
Or don't. They
Please.
suck. That's fine. Watch them.
Down here at your bottom left, we've got Austin representing Titans Takeaways. No longer a disgruntled Titans fan, at least for this week. So, Austin, how are we doing?
Feels great to be in the W column. That's all I'll say there. It was the ugliest win. I've never felt worse about a win, but there's a one. We're 1-2 heading into a bye. Sorry, 1-3 heading into a bye. So feeling pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, you always want to go into a bye with a win, and the Titans were able to do that. Brian Callahan gets his first dub. It was the end of a 1,000-day drought of a 30-point lack of scoring, I guess. They can't score 30 points.
Yeah.
Well, a fun piece of trivia, the last time that the Titans scored 30 points was against the Dolphins in 2022 in January.
Yeah, we just hate the Dolphins. We just hate them. It's insane. Fourth quarter comeback last year against them, and then this year it's crazy.
Yeah. And then, of course, if you're a fan of any of these teams, you've come to the right place because we're here to talk about Week 4. So let's begin with injuries, folks. Who are our teams missing after the games in Week 4? Austin, go first.
Yeah. So Jeffrey Simmons, one of our defensive linemen, he had a kind of a ligament tear. It's the Tommy John, pretty common in sports. He says he's good now. We'll see. I'm down with – I mean, obviously he's got a bye week to rest up even more, but that's a crucial part of our defensive line. And our defensive line has actually gotten even thinner because we're also missing Keandre Coburn on the defensive line. He suffered a knee injury. Not a lot is known about that one, but he suffered that against Miami there. Getting pretty thin up there. Obviously, Tavondre Sweat's going to continue holding down and clogging the lanes. That dude looked like a man on fire against Miami, but those are our main ones. Some guys to keep an eye out for. L'Jarius Sneed has kind of been in and out. Amani Hooker was listed with a face injury. I don't know what that means, but he was listed with a face injury before the game. So we'll see. Keep an eye out there. And then Jalen Duncan, he is one of our right tackles. Obviously, that is where we are the weakest. So you never like to see more guys go out there. He had a shoulder injury. I do believe that he ended up suiting up, but something to keep an eye on in case he retweaks that. That's really the news I've got on the Titans side.
Okay.
Oh, and I'm sorry. Will Levis he kind of fell on his shoulder awkwardly. Nobody is released whether that's going to be a long-term injury. I kind of think it's not, but he was benched for the rest of the game for Mason Rudolph. I believe that was just let's get this win with Mason and kind of take a look at your shoulder afterwards. I think they used the shoulder as an excuse to just put Mason in.
Very likely. I did read that he has an MRI scheduled, so
yeah.
We'll know soon. Jeff, Colts injuries?
They got the win, but it came at a cost. Tyquan Lewis got put on injured reserve. It was his calf, if I'm not mistaken. So that's another blow. Kwity Paye is questionable. He didn't play against the Steelers. Kenny Moore is questionable. Ryan Kelly didn't play. He's questionable. Anthony Richardson took a shot to man, I was nervous because I remember that hit that Andrew Luck took where he tore it, like he had that, that kidney. It wasn't as hard of a hit, but it was similar. Like he took a bad shot to the back. But right now he's day to day. they're not really saying whether or not he'll go next week, or I guess this week. And Jonathan Taylor had a mild high ankle sprain. I think it's the same ankle, but they have no plan to put him on injured reserve. So
Okay.
Hopefully it won't be long.
So nothing has changed then with Anthony Richardson's status. He's just permanently day to day.
Just day to day, questionable.
Every week for the rest of his life.
Every week.
God, please let him play this week.
Isaiah?
Josh Allen got hurt. Concussion. Don't know if he'll be back. Darnell Savage looks like he should be playing this week, but they said that this past weekend as well, so we'll see. New injuries, though, nobody besides them as far as I'm aware from that game. I know Devin Lloyd did not play. They said that his was knee soreness. They thought he could play, but he said that he felt like he couldn't go 100%. So that's why we didn't see him out there. But I don't think we got any new injuries.
Okay. As for the Texans, we know that Laramie got hurt in the first half, basically missed most of the second quarter and came back after halftime. Really just kind of adding him to the injury report with some sort of injury. I didn't even figure out what he actually hurt. But beyond that, Joe Mixon practiced last week, and they're expecting him to practice again and more this week. So he's trending in the right direction to play, but we'll see. Beyond, and then Christian Harris is another name that Texans fans have been itching to see get back on the field, and I've been hearing that it'll probably be late October, more likely than anything, that Christian Harris is finally activated off of IR. And beyond that, I don't think there was really much else. Dameon Pierce still hasn't practiced or anything, and he didn't play last week. Joe Mixon didn't play last week. But, yeah, nothing really crazy happened injury-wise for the Texans this week, fortunately. And hopefully we can get some dudes back going into next week. But let's worry about what just happened this week. So we have a tradition here on the channel. Losers go first. So we don't really have an embarrassing loss this week. We've got just a pretty competitive game to the very damn end of the game. Isaiah, let's talk Jags Texans.
Yeah. There was a game. It was played. Points were scored. Not enough points were scored by one team. Enough points were scored by the other. And that they say 100% of games where you don't score more points than your opponent, you lose. So, that's an interesting stat for you out of the day. It was a disappointing loss for sure. That was a game we definitely should have and could have won. You go out there with 2 minutes and some change left, and you're only able to waste 46 seconds because you throw 2 10+ yard routes on second and third down. Like, why are we throwing the ball on second and third down? Make them waste some time out. It's like, run the ball. We were running the ball for like 7 yards a clip. What are we doing? You got one of the weakest run defenses in the league, and we're throwing the ball whenever they've been doing pretty well all day on us. I will say there were some bright spots though. I will say Tank Bigsby looked pretty good. He keeps on getting these big runs, and we keep on forcing ETN out there. I mean, Bigsby had a 22-yard carry and a 58-yard carry. And outside of the 2 goal line carries where they shouldn't have ran him in the first place because he just ran 58 yards, and they sent him up the middle on 2 halfback draws, which, funny enough, we were watching the film on on third and teal. The play he broke off for the 58-yard run is the exact same play they called on first down and second down on the goal line. It was a delayed handoff to the A gap on the right side for all 3 plays. All 3. Like, really creative by Press Taylor and Doug Peterson there. Absolutely astonishing. And then, we throw the ball on third down from 1 yard away from the end zone instead of putting ETN, Bigsby, or Johnson in there from under, having Trevor under center and running him up the gut, let him get ahead of steam. Why would we do that? Whenever we can hit Gabe Davis to the face mask with the ball and him drop it. Stingley got there early. Could it have been called a PI? Sure. But if a ball hits you in the face mask, catch the fucking ball, dude. Like, I don't care if your left nut's being twisted backwards. Like, just catch the ball. It's ridiculous. That's the second week in a row where, corner arguably got there early, but like the ball hits you in the face, Maz. You got to fucking come down with it. There's no excuse for that. Trevor Lawrence did miss 2 throws, but everybody wants to talk about the 2 throws he missed. And again, not the one where it hit Gabe Davis in between the fucking eyes and he dropped it. Nobody wants to talk about the fact that we ran the same play 3 plays in a row, 2 of which were handoffs, delayed handoffs from the shotgun on the 4-yard line and the 1-yard line, or 2-yard line. We got half a foot or whatever the fuck they called it. Overall though, for the day, Trevor had some good throws that make you remember why he was drafted as high as he was, and then he also had some throws that you're like, man, you kind of did have enough time for that one. And there was a couple of those pocket bailouts where you really should have committed going upfield or something else, but at the same time, I'd probably be pretty gun shy too of stepping up in the pocket when I've been getting killed right up the middle for the past 3 seasons. So I think that he's got a lot to work on. The team overall does. I do think that we may be, and we talked about this on the show, I think we may be overreacting just a little bit. We've got a brand new center. We have a brand new rookie. I mean, we've been throwing more and more to Brian Thomas Jr. I liked how we targeted him, I think 8 or 10 times this game. Thank God, instead of like the 4 or 5 we've been doing. I do think the offensive line had their best game yet. That was very apparent. There was only 2 or 3 pressures given up, according to PFF, in that game. And of course, 1 or 2 of them were sacks. And they gave him enough time. I think he played good enough to win the game. We also have a new defensive coordinator. We're now down 4 starters. Savage, Campbell, Lloyd, and Lewikins. We're missing both of our middle linebackers, both of which are Pro Bowlers. We're missing, Tyson Campbell, arguably. I mean, I think arguably he's a top 10 corner when he plays and he's healthy, but I don't know that I've seen enough to really justify that at this point, where the fact that he comes in and immediately pulls his hamstring in week 1 after doing the same thing last year. I just think that it's been a tough year for us. We're playing a zone scheme after practicing man all offseason. Like week 1, we ran man 76 or 78% of the time, and I think last week we ran like 3 or 4 man play. Like, it was terrible. Also, I saw a funny stat. Jacksonville is currently the 31st team in pre-snap motion. So we're not doing anything like changing any plays, nothing compared to what we're lining up as. Every play we're running crossers and we're running 3 guys to the same spot. And the one time that we got a little creative was literally 3 crossing routes to the same spot, basically with Kirk on a slight over, and then BTJ going down the sideline, and we just got lucky that BTJ is a fucking man and beat the corner. It wasn't like anything crazy happened. He was just bigger. He held onto that ball down the sideline, and we had a good one. But coming out, Daniel Thomas with a touchdown, getting that early momentum, or Daniel Thomas getting the fumble, then the touchdown right after. I think we had all the momentum in this game, and we just don't know how to play with a lead. Like, if we're not losing with like 0, with 20 seconds left in the game for some reason, whenever we didn't have the lead ahead of time, like we just can't play. We suck. But all this to be said, I think we overreacted just a little bit. I think we are going to end up doing fine in terms of like overall record. I think we're going to do good enough for Peterson to keep his job. But we'll see. It was encouraging to see us score 20 points. And that's terrible to say.
Anybody want to react to that one?
Yeah, I just want to, and you hit on these, but this is what I noticed. It was the terrible play calling, or kind of the bland play calling. Noticed that the delayed handoff just was not working as well as Doug Peterson wanted it to, but he really liked that play for some reason. And then noticed Trevor was kind of gun shy. I think he has PTSD from the first 3 games of the season, because it did look like he rushed a couple of things. I think his internal clock has given him like 3 seconds to get rid of the ball, and it's going to be hard to kind of beat that muscle memory out of him. But I thought you guys looked good. I was giving you some shit, honestly, before the show started about being the only winless team, but I thought you guys looked good. You did better than we'll do against the Texans, I'm sure. But those are definitely like the play calling and Trevor being a little little gun shy were the things that I noticed.
Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, I had the Texans winning it. I wasn't on the show to do a prediction. I honestly don't know what score I would have given. Probably 24-20. No, I'm kidding. Nah, the Texans did really well. Nico Collins, he's a dog. I'm sure you're going to touch on that when you go, but it looked like a good game. I mean, it was competitive throughout. I didn't get much of a chance. I was watching the Colts, on ARG. I'm a, what was it? Footballstreaming.org. But yeah, I had Red Zone on, so I got to see some of the highlights, but I didn't get a chance to watch the game in its entirety. But yeah, it was competitive. It was a good game.
That does remind me. Here are the score predictions. Justin said 34-21 Houston. I said 31-13 Houston, but literally that it was going to be like 20-13 until like a major collapse in the second half, or like literally like the last half of the fourth quarter. Austin 34-16 Houston, and then Eric had 20-17 Jacksonville. So I mean, he got the 20 right. So, I mean, that's like half a point or something. If he gets a whole point, he can actually redeem that in the gift shop. So let that be known.
I got a point last year. I didn't get any gift shop shit.
It's a new thing.
I was at the game too. That was the crazy part.
Yeah. All right. So look, from a Texans perspective, this game was gross. Ugly game. At times, we were able to just barely survive shooting ourselves in the foot, only to shoot ourselves in the foot again. At one point, I think we were 3rd and 15. Dara Gumbawale gets a little dump off pass and goes, I think, 30 yards to get us to the other side of the field. I think from like our 36 to the Jags 36 or something. I don't remember the exact situation, but and then the next two plays are run up the middle for no yards, a holding call, and then a sack on 4th down. It is so annoying watching probably about $40 million worth of tackles commit the most penalties possible. The false starts were significantly better. I think we only had 2 all game. One of them, I believe, was Laramie Tunsil. The other was Shaq Mason. But there were 3 or 4 holding calls. We finished this game with 11 penalties, and Laramie had 4 of them for a grand total of 13 through 4 games. I don't know what his deal is, but homie needs to figure that shit out. The running game, non-existent at all. It really seems like if Joe Mixon's not in the game, then either the line is not blocking as well or the running backs aren't seeing it the same way that Joe Mixon is and not able to do anything. There were several different running plays that Cam Akers finally would get a good run in, and then there'd be a holding call. That kills momentum, and that happened a lot in this game. There were many times where I was like, we're going to end up fucking around and losing this game. And then the final 4 minutes of the game happen. The go down and essentially, I don't know, milk all of the clock off after stopping Jacksonville and their incredibly questionable play call of throwing the ball twice in that situation.
I still can't believe that probably the most egregious hands to the face I've ever seen by Laramie Tunsil was not called, with 2 refs standing there watching it when he ripped Trayvon's helmet off. And they were both just sitting there with their hands in their pockets like, that's totally legit.
Yeah. Look, there were a lot of things here in this game, flag-wise, that I mean, these refs I think were just a little much, if you're asking me. The BTJ unsportsmanlike conduct penalty was really stupid. When I watched it, I asked other people about it. They were like, it's just a bad call. Maybe the only thing that would make sense is if like BTJ is literally just like, I'm going to kill your whole family or something. Like if you say that's the only reason I could think of referees like, all right,
That's
I'm
a
going to
little
throw
bit too far.
yeah. Like we're just playing a game, guys. Let's just relax here. You're making a lot of money. But look, this was an ugly game. The defense showed up at the right time. They were not there for stretches. Getting gashed in the running game again, as a Texans fan, just makes me want to pull my eyes out. But the fourth down or the goal line stop from the 4-yard line was impeccable and hugely needed. Jaguars, even if the Jaguars score a touchdown there, the game's over. It's just simple as that. And they hold them. Honestly, trying to think here. Like I didn't feel comfortable that we were going to actually pull it out until we got inside the 20. I was like, all right, there's a lot of time left. And they just ran it all the way down to 18 seconds and gave Dare Gumbawale the touchdown to win the game against his old team. CJ Stroud looked good. Offensive line looked like shit. Defensive line against an offensive line that was coming into this as probably one of the bottom 2 in the NFL. You got bullied the entire time. 1 sack on Trevor Lawrence, and it wasn't by anybody in the front 7. It was blitzing safety Eric Murray. That is
ETN fucked that play up so bad, dude.
All I'm saying is, like, we were talking on That Real Texas Team podcast about the least amount of time to throw and the most pressures given up, and we're looking at the PFF rankings of everybody that we're going against, and Anton Harrison's literally the last ranked tackle, right tackle. And we're like, all right, we're going to be able to do some things. And then absolutely nothing happened. Danielle Hunter was absent. So hats off to the Jaguars for, one, completely changing the script here. And had they not done the questionable play calling within the 4 minutes, they win this game. If they just would have run the ball that they had been doing successfully, they win this game. The Texans have a lot to get fixed, and we don't have a bye week till like week 14. So we've got a long road ahead of us. Beyond that, Nico Collins is him, and he is apparently grading out as the number 1 wide receiver in all of football right now, from PFF. Anybody want to react? Stunned, speechless. Okay.
I've got nothing. No, you kind of touched on a lot of points there. It was we all predicted, most of us predicted Houston to score more points, and that offense at times, like you said, your line. I don't know what it is about the AFC South and bad offensive lines, but that'll kill your offensive production. And so I think you guys just kind of got bit by that this week.
Yeah. Well, Jeff's got a good offensive line. He just doesn't have a good quarterback.
Yeah.
They do now. Joe Flacco's starting.
Oh, that's right.
Please, God, Anthony Richardson, come back.
Yeah. Oh, man. So, look, let's pivot to the Steelers and Colts, Jeff. 24-7 was the final score, or 24-27, sorry, for the Colts. Score predictions were Justin said 20-17 Indianapolis. I had 24-13 Pittsburgh. I got the 24 right, half a point. Austin 17-24 Pittsburgh. 17-14 Pittsburgh. Eric said 34-31 Indianapolis. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Over on Unstable, I had the Colts winning 24-21, so I was pretty close.
Yeah.
But
or Price is Right.
That was pretty close. No, I mean, it was a good game. I mean, the score doesn't really tell it, but for the better part of it, the Colts controlled the game. I don't want to say completely dominated, but they took a lead and they never gave it up. So, and up until that big fourth quarter from Pittsburgh, I mean, it was almost a blowout. So, the defense got a little bit comfortable when they probably shouldn't have, and that's kind of an ongoing theme with Gus Bradley. But I will tip my hat to him. I mean, he called a good defensive game. I mean, with all the injuries that they had, they got after Fields. They made him uncomfortable. Najee Harris might be the slowest back in the league, but they shut his ass down. And there was a play on just kind of a random thought, but we were talking about it on Unstabled, and they said, "Oh yeah, Patterson down the side." And I'm like, Patterson? Like, who the hell is that? And I looked it up. Holy shit, that big motherfucker is Cordero Patterson. Like, he looks like he gained a ton of weight. I'm like, I had no idea that was him.
Yeah.
He's a big boy. But there was a lot of negatives, and I'm gonna, Alex, he did a whole thing on chaotically intolerant. He talked about the complete misuse of Anthony Richardson. He gets, he probably was off to the best start of the season. I mean, he was 3 of 4, 75 yards, something like that. And he had 2 great, really accurate passes to Pittman, finally getting him involved. He takes the design run. He takes that shot to the back, leaves the game for a couple plays. And the next, even the announcers were like, there's no way that Anthony's going to run the ball here. That play, Steichen calls like a run option. Of course, Anthony's going to tuck it down. He runs it, does this weird, awkward slide. Like he kind of had that mentality if he was going to run through the guy, but like, oh, they're going to be pissed. So at the last second, he kind of just took a random knee instead of sliding, kind of got popped. And that was the last we saw of Richardson. So, yeah, I mean, he's got to know to slide. And we don't know what Shane Steichen was doing there. Like, I don't know if he was just doing that as kind of as an excuse to get him out of the game. Like, I think Alex called it quarterback malpractice. Like, why would you call a run there at all? I mean, you can fake the run all day. And, Jonathan Taylor started off the day really great. Joe Flacco comes in, and he looked really solid. But that run game stopped after Joe Flacco came in. Like, they were all over Jonathan Taylor. I mean, yeah, he finished with 88 yards, but it was tough running after Flacco came in. But offensive line, they didn't have Kelly. 4th round pick, Tanner Bortolini comes in, and that line didn't skip a beat. Didn't even really notice that Kelly was out. Like, I didn't see any issues, no snap issues, no holdings, nothing egregious. That offensive line played a really good game against who came in as the top ranked defense. So they did a great job. They let up, I think, a few sacks, but they got TJ Watt, so it's going to happen.
It's true,
especially with Flacco. I mean, the guy's a statue, but he did have a nice rush, I think, for a first down. Flacco wheels.
Years old.
Hey, getting it done, man. But yeah, there was a few 3rd down conversions that Flacco had. They were 3rd and longs, 12, 14, 15 yards. And Josh Downs was that security blanket. And, man, they were – it looked like they had been playing all season together. Like, it didn't look like Flacco was, a backup. He was hitting Downs like they'd been on the field all season. So it was nice to see. But, yeah, like I said, Anthony Richardson got off to the best start that he's had. And, just to go down with an injury, that's killer, for a guy that was looking for momentum and kind of getting his footing this season. It sucked to see it. But, I can't give enough credit to the defense. Justin Fields, he did have 300 yards. But, they got after him. They caused a couple fumbles. They caused Fields to fumble. And I don't know what Pickens was doing, but, he was holding the ball like a loaf of bread, and they batted it out. And it was, of course, they're going to swat it out. You're not even taking care of it. So, and they almost scored on that drive. I think it was within the 10, maybe the 5, where they got that Pickens fumble. So the defense was flying in this game. I'm blown away by it. EJ Speed is leading the league in tackles, and I think he's tied with Nick Cross, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
I didn't see that coming. But the defense is playing really well. I can't say it. Ode Ingbo had a really good day, couple sacks. even Jalen Jones almost had another pick, so he's looking like a really solid corner. I think they took him 6th or 7th round, so that's really nice to see. But yeah, it was overall a really good kind of it was close, but it was probably the most complete game they've played this year.
Okay. Anybody want to react?
I'm rooting for Anthony Richardson. I feel like him and Will have been kind of compared to each other with their incompletion rating, all that fun stuff. So, in the same way that I'm rooting for Will, I'm rooting for Anthony Richardson. Just not, I don't want him to get to the point where he's Andrew Luck against the Titans or anything like that level. But good kid, great arm, freak athlete. I think you guys can win a lot of games if he kind of dials in and really starts going. So that's just the one thing I wanted to point out there. Calling a QB run right after he tweaks his back is really QB malpractice is the way to put it. I'd have some words from my OC after that one.
Oh, there was one more play that I was talking about with play calling. You just reminded me. They had a huge fumble from Fields. He ran all the way like 20 yards backwards into Colt territory, fumbled the football. And the next play after that, they could put the game away, run the ball a couple times, kick a field goal, end it. Joe Flacco, they drop him back. He takes a sack. Of course, they've got to make up the yardage, so they pass again. And on 3rd and 7, he runs like in between the tackles draw to Jonathan Taylor that picks up 3 yards and then kick a field goal and miss. Like the play calling was just, what are we doing, man? And there was a lot of instances like that with Shane Steichen. It's just we went over it heavily on Unstable, and the play calling was at times very questionable, especially like we were just talking about Anthony Richardson running the ball right after he got hurt. Yeah. Can't do it.
I have a bone to pick with you. I famously think that Justin Fields is hot garbage, and you allowed this man to throw for 300 yards. The hell, bro?
I wasn't on the field. I didn't allow shit.
God, you make me look like a dick.
I could have told you. I could have told you that was going to come. I mean, they let what's his name, Malik Willis. They let Caleb Williams do it. Of course, they're going to let up the passing yards, but they made enough plays. And I said this about Tomlin. He's a coach that finds a way to win ugly games, and the Steelers were the ones that played the ugly game. So it was really uncharacteristic. Fields made a lot of mistakes he hadn't made all season so far. And the Colts kind of just forced it out of him. They made him very uncomfortable. But I'm willing to let up 300 yards if it means coming away with a win. So
fair.
I don't care.
Isaiah?
Yeah, I mean, I hate that they're out there getting Richardson hurt and then still playing him hard. I really want to see him this week. For the game, though, I think we're kind of seeing some more, and it's funny because I said something about this, and Curtis, you actually liked it. And this could be a problem Richardson has until potentially the right staff gets in there. But we're seeing Justin Fields actually play really well this season. And like I made the comment in other things people talking about trading Trevor, where I said Sam Darnold's currently an MVP candidate. Like, how are we having this? How are we talking about this? And the guy's like, oh, he's on his 4th team by now, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, you kind of just made my point for me that it took him getting in the right situation. And, this game is just another one where I get AR, big dude, big running guy. Hasn't been super accurate this season. You've got these backs, Jonathan Taylor, the guys if he's hurt, why are you still running him? Come on. But I mean, of course, same with us though. The play calling's been awful. I think that it's just, I think Steichen might need to get an offensive coordinator in there he can trust to call plays, and that may fix some of the stuff. But I will say that the Colts have looked better this year than I kind of expected them to, in terms of there's flashes where you're like, damn, they could be a really good team this year, and there's other times you're like, maybe not. But I didn't notice though. Did Latu play the whole game?
It seemed like he was out there quite a bit, but it seemed like they were kind of teaming him out. He didn't. He had a lot of pressure in the game, but I think he only had a sack or a tackle. Yeah,
I didn't know if he. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know if he was out there a bunch, but yeah, I mean, not too much to say. I just think that it's a shame that you got these young guys and they're being forced to play. I mean, that's kind of like Trevor last year. It's like he gets hurt, and they're like, just get back in there, kid. You're a tough competitor, aren't you? Get back in there, champ. And unfortunately, it's either going to cut Anthony Richardson's career short or the coaching staff's career is going to be cut short, and then they'll get it fixed. But we'll see. Week to week, they could improve. They could not. We'll see.
Yeah.
Who knows?
It's
And they're already
go ahead.
there are already calls for, oh man, in a couple of years we could get Arch Manning, and it's like, man, can we get past the next couple of years and we can worry about that later?
I mean, it's probably a good idea to go ahead and play him for the future. I mean, how many times is AR going to break himself?
Or the coach is going to break him? Come on, man.
Well, he's going to further break him. Yes. He's going to be like, oh, you're already broken. It's not going to get any worse.
It doesn't matter anymore.
You don't need that arm. It's fine.
You can learn to be a lefty.
That worked for Eli that one time. All right. Well, look, let's pivot to a team that hadn't scored 30 points in over 1,000 days. Finally getting their first win on Monday Night Football against a team on their third string quarterback, Tyler Huntley, former Pro Bowler.
You shouldn't have been, but
shouldn't have been, but he was a Pro Bowler nonetheless.
Another example of how pointless the Pro Bowl is.
It's definitely become that for sure. But basically the defense steals the show. Running game comes in. Austin, take it away, brother. You're muted at the moment.
Sorry about that. Cool, man. Man, just a classic. We'll be looking back on this game for years to come about how amazing it was. Team stats, both teams went 2 for 12 on third down. It's pretty miserable. 18 penalties total on this game. It was the hardest game I've ever watched. Easily the least good I've ever felt about a 31, like any 30-plus point games. You usually feel pretty good about. I did not. The best player on either team was Nick Folk, our kicker. He was the best player out there for both teams. He had 5 for 5 on the field goals, nailed both extra points, scored 17 points for us if you total it all up there together. So well over half our points came from Nick Folk. Man, what do you say about this game? It was really that ugly. It was both teams just who was going to be more incompetent, right? Usually it's like, all right, in the case of like the Jags and the Texans, it was who's going to make the play, who's going to outlast the other, who's going to do it. For this game, it was just, all right, who's going to make more mistakes? Who's really going to lose this game for themselves? Miami was just pretty abysmal. They were way worse than the Titans somehow. Titans O-line only letting up 1 sack against a very old, very depleted D-line. So, you know what? I'll take it. After giving up 8 the week prior, I'll take 1 sack there. Will Levis started off really good. He actually completed all 4 of his passes. 3 of them were to our teammates, and 1 of them was to the other team. But 4 for 4, right? We're making progress there, Will. Keep it up, man. He tweaks his shoulder a little bit into it, trying to make a play on third down. Again, one of the things I love and hate about Will is his grit and his determination to win every down. He tries to make a play on third down, dives, should have gotten the first, but the refs sucked and ended up tweaking his shoulder. Mason Rudolph comes in and looked really good at first, right? He was off to a pretty efficient start. Our offense was kind of clicking a little bit. He ended up going like a 51%, 52% completion rating. Not great. 85 yards, not great, right? The bulk of our offense came from our running backs. Tony Pollard, 22 carries for 88 yards and a score. Tony had a really good game. Tajay was a nice complimentary piece to him, but that was our game plan. It's like, all right, we know Miami is not going to go tit for tat on scoring. We're just going to march down the field, get as many yards as we can, running the ball, and then we're in field goal position. All right, get out there, Nick. Go score some points. There was nothing entertaining about this game. I really even the commentators were over it, dude. It was so bad that they were flashing up the Seahawks-Lions game in the middle of it to keep viewers entertained. And I'm happy they did that because I got to watch some high-level football for a couple seconds that night, which was really good. Traylon Burks, I do want to shout him out, had 1 catch, and I'm happy with it, dude. 1 catch for 13 yards. Thank God, Traylon. You're the A.J. Brown replacement. 1 catch for 13 yards. Hey, that's a step in the right direction. Keep it going, man. What else do I say? D-Hop, 2 catches for 31. Tyler Boyd, 2 for 31. They had I mean, they got us down the field a couple times, got us some first downs. But ultimately, you look at that and you say, okay, we went 2 for 12 on third down. We had 8 penalties for 69 yards, and 16 first downs, and we still threw an interception to a bad defense. It's hard to feel, all right, this is our turnaround. It's hard to feel really good about this game at the end of it. One thing I will shout out is that our first touchdown when we were in the red zone, Mason Rudolph was in there. The play call was actually very creative. It was great. They lined up shotgun, and then they motioned Mason out wide and pivoted to a wildcat. And Tajay Spears received the ball, faked the wide receiver sweep basically, and then ran it straight up. It was great. It confused the defense. It was an excellent look, a really good play that I hope we see again. It's nice to see creativity from a team that just calls runs, 2 out of every 3 plays. It's really, really, really tough when you watch the man who used to be Derrick Henry turn into Tony Pollard and run up the middle and gain 2 yards, every run. So that's it, man. It's my Titans. I love them. I'll keep watching them. We're probably going to win 3 more games this season, but I'm going to be here to celebrate every single one. And I'll take this as our only win. I don't want to go winless. I'll take this as our only win, and we'll just draft Jalen Milroe after what he did to Georgia. I'm ready. Bring him on.
I gotta ask a question. I actually text Blake B Squared about this, and I said it was during the beginning of the Baltimore game, and I said this has got to hurt a lot.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, it's so painful. Immediately knew that I was talking about Derrick Henry ripping off 80-yarder or whatever it was touchdown. I'm like, dude, this has got to sting.
He's still leading running backs this season in rushing yards. Like, there's no drop off. It's unbelievable. And it hurts every time. Every time he touches that ball, man. Every time he scores 30 points against me in fantasy. There's so many different ways that seeing Derrick Henry on the Ravens hurts me. And games like Monday, where you're used to seeing Derrick Henry pop off large yardage runs, games like that really make you miss that man. Glad he's doing well.
Yeah, it's got to be pretty hard seeing another Titan go to become a Raven. Obviously, Titans legends Derek Mason and Steve McNair famously went to become Ravens right after their Titans career. I have a question for you. Push comes to shove, would you rather have Will Levis or Mason Rudolph out there in Week 6?
Will Levis.
Who are we playing?
Oh, God, which game is that? Hold on.
Indianapolis.
Well, Indy gives up pass yards to everybody. So I want Will Levis because I feel like he's got a rocket on his arm and he can stretch the field. So give me Will Levis. Truthfully, the future is not with Mason Rudolph. I'm glad he came in there. I appreciate him getting us a dub. He had a 50% completion rating and threw for 88 yards. All this talk about, the offense looks so much better. It didn't look that much different. The one thing that Mason brought was no turnovers. He didn't turn the ball over. And so I start Will, continue teaching him not to be a knucklehead, and let him develop that arm talent. One thing I'll say about Mason, actually, and it was his first drive that he came in, that it was like, man, this is what Will needs. His timing on receivers breaking out of routes and reading the coverage is 10 times better than what Will is able to do right now. He just knows exactly. You can see him surveying the defense. He's like, cool, I know that this route's going to be open. I know it's going to be about 6 steps, and then he's going to break in, and I'll hit him right on that break in. And sure enough, the timing was just really, really good on Mason Rudolph. That's what Will's got to learn as well, is the timing. Because you see him sit in the pocket too many times and wait for a play to develop. And he's almost late to a lot of balls because he doesn't predict that receiver breaking. So he's got to be better at that. He's got to be better at reading the defense, saying, all right, too high safety, my tight end's going to be open in the middle. I can see them putting, choking up on their linebackers. I'm going to hit my tight end as soon as he breaks out. But he almost waits, break, take a couple steps. Okay, now I hit him. He's too late every time. It's what Mason did well. It's what Will doesn't do well, and he's got to develop. So give me Will Levis. That was a long-winded answer there, but I want Mayo guy.
All right, so let me ask you this as kind of a part 2 to that. Let's just say Will Levis comes back in. the same old that's been happening this season continues? Is there a point this season where you're like, all right, put Mason in?
No, because I'm fine with going. I'm not fine with it. I'm if we go 1-16, Jalen Milroe is going to be starting for the Tennessee Titans next year, so I'm good with whatever. If you told me, hey, you make $10,000 if the Titans win 6 games by week 12, if he's still turning the ball over and being a knucklehead, yeah, put Mason in there. So if I've got some skin in the game that way, yeah, if we have to win games, put Mason in.
All right. You said something there with the Milroe thing. So let's just say the Titans end up getting the first overall pick. Wouldn't you think it might be smarter to like trade back, maybe get multiple firsts somehow?
It would. Yeah, no, it would be
like a lineman and then a quarterback.
Absolutely.
Like I'm drafting a right tackle immediately.
Yep. I've played this out in my head. It would be much smarter to trade back, get like the 10th, 11th pick, maybe another first round in there if it's somebody desperate. You draft a lineman, and then maybe a running back that's just a little bit better than Pollard.
Sampson.
Or, yeah, dude, I Dylan Sampson, bring him on. If that Boise State running back falls somehow, because running backs are undervalued right now, if he somehow falls and he's available, snag him up. But I think there's going to be some good running back talent in the first. So, yes, I would absolutely trade that pick back, get a lineman, get like a running back or maybe another offensive piece. But the Titans won't do that. If we get the first overall pick, we're not going to be smart with it. We're going to take Jalen Milroe with the first overall.
Interesting. Isaiah?
I really didn't watch this one. It'd be hard for me to really talk about it. I will say I do think that Mason Rudolph, he seems like a good guy to put in and do all that. I agree with Austin, though. I think that with what the Colts have shown, they've made some not great quarterbacks look really good and throw a lot of yards. I think we've seen in the past whenever Will Levis gets that chance, he's done some other stuff. I know we're not really doing a preview right now, but just based on that question, I think that Will Levis really is the guy going forward. I don't know if necessarily Tennessee thought that, he can't play the rest of this game. Like, I think they really did have concerns about him and his shoulder. And we don't want to see another situation where you've got a player out there like the Colts and he gets hurt and then we're just forcing him to keep going and playing. But, also too, I mean, against that Miami team with no Tua, I don't think you really need to risk your quarterback on that one, whether it's a close game or not. But yeah, I mean, Titans got their first win. It's nice to see. I don't think that they'll have a lot of those this year. And honestly, at this point, we're going to be fighting them for that number 1 pick so we can draft the Texas player, the left tackle, not the quarterback. But people got to make money and write headlines and do things. So Tennessee and Jacksonville could be fighting it out for who gets the higher pick to take the better tackle in this draft. So
just to go, a little off base here. Now that we've kind of wrapped all this up and you brought that point up, do you think Jacksonville's smart enough to trade away the number 1 pick too, or do you think they're taking Jalen Milroe after the fan base puts pressure on them to get rid of Lawrence?
No, they can't. He's got a no trade clause in his contract. So
so
he's signed through 2030. So the only I think we would mess up and we would draft that tackle from Texas or one of those tackles from LSU first overall instead of trading back and trying to get somebody at like 5 or 6 or something like that. I think the Panthers are going to be up there again, and there's a couple teams that'll probably be up there. I don't think the Dalton magic holds on for too long. So yeah, I mean, I think if there's no chance Jacksonville gets the first overall pick. I just don't think that we're going to lose that many games. Now we've been terrible this year, but I still don't think that's really in the picture right now. But if we did have it, I think we'd just spend it on something stupid rather than like we're not drafting another quarterback.
No, I don't see the Jags draft another quarterback anyway, unless it would be like a late round guy just to kind of challenge Mac Jones or something. But I mean, with that being said, this is the first week of the season. 3 of us got a win. It's incredible. There will be a point this year again where we're not playing each other, cannibalizing the chance of all 4 of us winning. But that is on the table at some point this year. So hopefully we can make that happen. I say we like we play the games, but we don't. Yeah. You guys got any closing comments? magical. All right. So
I will say that, like, I think it was late in the first quarter where AR got hurt. He did run out onto the field, and then that second quarter started, and they kind of just called it back. So it might have been another one of those. Like, they were up 14-0. Flacco was playing well enough. Maybe he could have played and kept going, but they just shut him down for the day. So he did run out onto the field. The announcers talked about it. So I mean, I think he'll be all right going forward. I'll leave it on a positive note.
So what if like Joe Flacco like just goes off the next few weeks? Do you put Anthony Richardson back in if he's healthy?
He's not the future of the team, and AR needs the reps desperately.
Does it matter if he's winning?
I mean, it does, but he needs those reps.
Yeah, I mean, he started 19 games since high school now.
Yeah,
like 20 something like that. He needs the reps.
Yeah, it's still not in the 30s. Yeah, let's put it that way. Yeah, I mean, if it were me, and we got, God forbid, CJ Stroud gets hurt and Davis Mills goes out there and starts winning games, and CJ comes back, I'm gonna be like, all right, he's pretty good, but like we've won, like if we win like the rest of the games, CJ is supposed to come back for the playoffs. I'm gonna be like, all right, we should probably ride with Davis just to see where this goes. I
heavily disagree with that.
If Davis Mills wins the rest of the season, does not lose another game,
that never happens.
You wouldn't ride with the hot hand.
That won't happen.
I know it.
But if it's an if,
yeah,
I want you to answer the question too.
It's an if.
And if Saturn was your toothbrush,
exactly.
Come on, man.
That's an if question, Jeffrey.
Come on, man.
I mean, let's be honest though. If Joe Flacco's winning you games and you're only like one game behind the Texans coming into like week 14 or something like that, like you're riding with Joe Flacco the rest of the way, right? Like competing for that AFC South spot.
I never know with this coaching staff.
Yeah.
I'm
kind of with you, Curtis. I agree.
I mean, we act like that Flacco wasn't like he had a lot of turnovers with Cleveland, but they had a really good defense. Like Flacco was good. I mean, he wasn't. I'm not saying he was terrible or anything. Like he came off the couch and got him into the playoffs. So, but it wasn't like he was playing at this high, like elite level either. Like he was good, and in this game he was good. He made some really key throws. Kept the Colts from losing, which it seemed like Steichen was trying to get him to do. But it's not like he was lighting up the world either. And it's just he's very one-dimensional, and I think Anthony Richardson gives you that whole other aspect to the offense. Yeah. Like again, Jonathan Taylor, his production when it was okay, we know that they're either going to hand it off or it's going to be a pass. Like there's no other threat in this offense.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, look, you can check out all of our respective team podcasts. Titans Takeaways 1 on YouTube. It's how you search it. Look for the Titans Takeaways Baby Blue. What is the Oiler Blue? And Unstabled at Unstabled 1 at Third and Teal on YouTube. At That Real Texas Team Podcast. Go over there, hit the like, subscribe. We're trying to grow the channels, specifically the Colts. They need all the help they can.
Help us out.
They've been winning, and
they've been winning, and still at 60.
It doesn't make sense. So yeah, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content. Trying to grow the channel, trying to get these guys paid. Like to get the network large enough to be able to pay everybody who's involved. So each like and subscribe helps us get there. So please help us beat this algorithm. Without any further ado, folks, be good people. We'll see you for the preview.
Please give us money so I can put my child through college. I don't have a child, but I do want your money.
Very legitimate concern. Go Colts. Jaguars suck.
Fuck the Colts.
And it begins.
Fuck the Colts. Fuck the Colts.